you mentioned the fact that we weren't the brightest kids. I would challenge that a little bit. I think we both of us were pretty bright. What I realized very early on, even at that time, was that we just didn't enjoy the structure of the current, at that point, the academic setting, and the stuff that was considered markers of success didn't really correlate with actual intelligence and actual. It was more of a, the even right now, the current education system is more of a marker of you just doing rote learning, memorization, following procedures, all those kind of things, which a lot of people are, even if they're really bright or intelligent, they sometimes are just not cut out for that kind of thing. So you can sort of grit your teeth and get by, which I tried to do. And yeah, it's just one of those things, right? It's not a measure of your creativity. It's not a measure of your empathy. It's not a measure of many other markers of success later on in life, right? Teamwork and all those kind of things. So that's one thing. And afterwards, even in the first 2 years of my college life, I remember, I took a look at the 4 years of the curriculum, and I knew that these first 2 years is going to suck for me. All those kind of things, like you had to learn physics in a computer science class. Like, why would and there are a bunch of these different things that I knew that I had no interest in, but I had to grit my teeth and get by. And the later 2 years were things that I was really interested in: databases, networking theory, operating systems, all those kind of things. And those are things that I just on my own time, since I was just interested, I just took a look. And one more thing, which was really, maybe you can relate upon this, is that sometimes the teaching methodology, which was used back in the day, at least, wasn't really the best. So one of the great things that I really liked about the internet was that I could learn on my own pace. And if I was wrong, I wasn't punished for it, right? A lot of times, there, in many schools, there's this lack of psychological safety. If the teacher asks you something and you don't have the answer, you're somehow going to get punished, right? Even if in an exam, like if you don't have the correct answer, you're not going to get the full marks. If I'm learning SQL and if I don't get the query right, it's just an error. I can look it up. I can improve. There's no one penalizing me anyhow, right? So that really was a big help for me, because then I was like, okay, I can learn on my own pace. There's no penalty for being wrong. In fact, that's how you learn, right? You try things out. One thing doesn't work, but the other thing works, and you sort of like get better and better. So that's the thing which sort of like helped me level up in many of these things. And then the internet in general was something that was really great, because one of the things that I also did in college was create a site called incredicampus.com. It was essentially, it was essentially my final year project, but it was even before this. So what I did was essentially make a small search engine for academic content. One of the ways in which the Opera Indian people sort of like got to know me was using this. They saw this website as well. And one of the people sort of like reached out, and that's how I got to know about the first sort of like event that the Opera India team was doing, and sort of like attended that, and they got to know my face and everything else. So it's some random things like these. You do something on your own because you love something, and then people discover it, and so you make connections. So those are things which over time make a big difference.
I actually completely agree with you. And by the way, so beautifully sort of articulated in terms of, the education system and how it's designed to create more cogs versus having innovative thinking. And a sign of intelligence is not your ability to memorize stuff. And it's actually the goal of education should be to teach people not what to think, but how to think, and be curious and inquisitive, ask questions. I feel the same way about education that you do. And then I think the aspect that a lot of people miss, especially people who are trying to get hired, and especially freshmen, and I think something that you did really well was that you actually demonstrated your value even before they hired you. So even though the position didn't exist, They created that position because companies are always looking for smart and intelligent people.
Good company.
So beautifully said, man. Fuck. Like, I'm so glad that I helped you out on that bus that day.
Yeah. Do you remember teachers saying that, hey, you won't have a calculator with you all the time? and now we have like mini supercomputers all the time in our pocket.
The irony of that statement.
Don't use a calculator. You won't have a calculator in your life.